All right, today we're diving into one of the biggest, most landscape-shattering deals in the history of entertainment. Netflix is making a play that could completely redefine streaming, and we're going to break down exactly what this massive gamble means for, well, pretty much everything you watch.
So let's just start with the number at the heart of all this. $72 billion. I mean, that's a figure that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. But this isn't just about money. It's a colossal bet on the future of media. And it's absolutely going to change how you choose to spend your evenings.
So what on earth does a number that big actually buy you? Well, it buys you entire worlds. It buys you cultural icons. We're talking about the home of Batman, the world of Harry Potter, and so much more. This one deal brings some of the most beloved stories on the entire planet under the Netflix roof.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the deal itself. Then, we'll get into the massive potential upside for Netflix, and of course, the huge risks involved. After that, we'll see what Wall Street thinks of all this, and we'll finish up with what to watch for as this whole saga unfolds. Right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are the actual nuts and bolts of this deal? Who's buying what, and for how much? So here's the basic breakdown. You've got Netflix as the buyer, obviously, and they're targeting the studio and streaming parts of Warner Bros. Discovery. Now that $72 billion number you've been hearing, that's the equity value. But, and this is key, Netflix is also taking on their debt, which pushes the total value up to almost $83 billion. It's a huge transaction that completely resets the entertainment chessboard.
So the big question is why? Why would Netflix spend this kind of money? Well, the strategy here is just incredibly ambitious. This isn't just about getting bigger. It's about trying to build an entertainment fortress that no one can touch.
At its heart, this is all about intellectual property. It's an IP play. Netflix isn't just buying shows, it's buying a treasure chest filled with some of the most valuable stories and characters ever created. You could even say it's about owning the source code for modern pop culture.
And just look at the depth of what they're getting. It's honestly staggering. You've got Game of Thrones, the entire wizarding world of Harry Potter, every DC hero from Superman to Wonder Woman, and the whole prestige brand that is HBO. You know, by owning these franchises, Netflix doesn't have to pay billions to license them anymore. It's like they now own well, not just the water coming out of it.
And owning that, well, translates directly into incredible savings. Netflix is projecting it can save $2 to $3 billion every single year just by combining operations and cutting out licensing fees. That's a massive financial upside that really helps explain that enormous price tag.
But, and this is a huge but, a deal this big doesn't happen without equally massive risks. For every incredible opportunity, there's a serious roadblock that could derail the whole thing.
The single biggest challenge right out of the gate is regulatory approval. This deal immediately set off alarm bells. I mean, when a former president like Donald Trump publicly flags that as a potential problem, you know it's on everyone's radar. The core concern is pretty straightforward. Will one company have way too much power? So what exactly is the legal issue here? It all comes down to something called antitrust law. These are basically the rules designed to stop any one company from becoming a monopoly, to make sure there's fair competition, which is good for us, the consumers. So regulators will be asking a very simple question. Does a combined Netflix and Warner Bros. Kill competition?
And the opposition is coming from all over the place. It's not just one group. You've got government regulators in both the US and Europe, you have politicians, powerful unions like the Writers Guild, and of course all the rival studios who really don't want to compete against this new behemoth.
The regulatory fight is definitely the biggest piece of this risk pie, but it is far from the only one. Just think about the challenge of integration. Can the tech-first, move-fast culture of Netflix really merge with a 100-year-old Hollywood studio? It's a classic culture clash waiting to happen. Then you throw in the huge financial burden and the risk of backlash, and you can see that every slice of this pie is a major headache.
So given all this incredible potential and all this massive risk, how did the financial markets react? Well, as you can probably guess, it was complicated. There was no clear thumbs up or thumbs down.
You can basically see two competing stories playing out on Wall Street. On one side, you have the bull case, the optimistic view. That's where the deal gets approved, the merger goes smoothly, they find those billions in savings, and the stock just soars. On the other side, you have the bear case, the total opposite. Regulators block it, the cultures clash, they miss their savings targets, and the stock gets hammered. Investors are basically placing bets on which of these two futures is going to play out.
So where do we go from here? Look, this deal is far from done. There are several really important milestones coming up that are going to tell us which way the wind is blowing.
First, you've got to watch for the formal filings with regulators like the Department of Justice.
Their first reaction is going to be a huge signal. Next, shareholders from both companies actually have to vote to approve the deal. Oh, and keep an eye out for any rival bids. You never know if another giant might try to crash the party. And finally, listen very closely to Netflix's next few earnings calls for any clues on how they plan to handle the costs of all this.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to this one question. Is this a game-changing masterstroke that cements Netflix as the undisputed king of entertainment for a generation? Or is it a historic $72 billion mistake that's about to get tangled up in years of regulatory fights and culture clashes? The script for this story is definitely still being written.